So my name is Matthew, I'm 21 years old, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm also a student in university.
Can you tell us a bit of your background?
Over the past couple of years, I've gone from a 15-year-old teenager with getting in trouble with the law. By the time I was 19, start my own business, travel the world, meet crazy mentors, and do a lot of cool things.
So what do you normally do as a social media entrepreneur, as they call it?
One of the main things that I do is run a online platform. It's called the University of Greatness. Basically, what we do is we teach people, all these skills and all these things that people should have learned in school. So that's one of my main projects that I'm working on.
You mentioned your troublesome childhood was one of the things that actually got you to where you are today. So do you mind elaborating a bit more about that?
The real sort of a problem that I had was I lacked this sense of belonging. My parents are Chinese immigrants from China. I was born in New Zealand and I grew up there and spent my first 10 years there. Eventually we moved to Singapore, me living in 3 countries by the time I was 15 years old. And that all stemmed from me having no sense of belonging, because I'd be moving around, right, moving to schools, and I didn't really have the same group of friends like everyone else did. Basically, well, in school I was always like the guy who was like the odd one out, and I was always up to crazy things, and I would sort of like school in Singapore, so it's real strict. You have to be in school at like 7:30, and fixed environment really wasn't for me. To people who are from Singapore or from like strict schools, they understand this. I went to a boys' school, by the way. I spoke differently. I had a New Zealand accent because I spoke a bit differently. Some of the girls in the girls' schools would pay attention to me, and I enjoyed that attention. But I also enjoyed, like, it was fun, man. But then, like, it also comes with the bad side. My seniors and the guys who were older than me, they were like, who is this punk ass kid with all these girls hanging out at McDonald's. So like that, try out and that, and like they say that and all that, but I was a 14-15-year-old kid, and like some of it did affect me, right? Back then I was really lost. I had no idea and I didn't know where I was going. At least now I sort of have a general direction in my life. It gave me the courage to do things that other people wouldn't do. There was this one night I was out and about doing my crazy stuff, hanging out with my friends and all this, and I got arrested by the police. I was 15 years old, and they put me up in handcuffs. They took me away in the cop car. It was around like 3-4 a.m. in the morning. For some reason, all of this stuff always happens like past 12. The cops took me to the police station. I was in the police station for about 22 hours almost. The main things that I remember from that night is, like, I remember being stuck in that jail cell and sitting on that cold floor. It's literally like a room, and then there's a hole in the corner of the room. Like, that's where you go and shit. Basically, it's literally like a hole. So I was 15 years old, right? And the whole cell like stinks because there's no like barrier between the toilet and, which is the hole, and everywhere else. So you sleep on the floor. There's no bed or anything.
So you sort of had like a changing point, sort of like a revelation.
I remember lying down that night and just thinking to myself, how did I end up here? And it sort of struck me like, look, you go to a good school, you have all the outward markings of success, you could say. Even though, like, when you're 15 years old, like, what kind of success? Like, I got into a good school, I came from a decent family and all this, but I'd end up there, and I was like thinking to myself, what happened? It was really like a dark time for me. And so I looked up to the sky, and I remember, so there's this guy called Louis Zamperini. He's a prisoner of war. He basically was stuck in the Pacific Ocean for about 2 months on a life raft. He was eventually captured by the Japanese, and he survived like torture. And he wrote in his autobiography that whenever man seems lost, he always looks up to God. So same for me. That night I looked up to God and I was like, okay, I need some help. I need someone to help me out of this. Long story short, I realized that eventually I needed a male role model. I needed mentors. I needed models to show me the way. Because I think a big problem, almost an epidemic, people talk about the coronavirus, etc. But it's like, this is an epidemic, I believe, because young men don't have role models, don't have proper mentors, and and models to show them the way on how to be productive and great men in today's world. Sort of because, post-industrial revolution.
Yeah, I agree. People definitely need role models and like mentors to be able to guide them along to the career paths that they choose.
Our schools are dominated by female, and it's not a bad thing, but it's like men and especially boys, we need role models who basically can show boys, this masculine sort of a model. And it's like an epidemic. People talk about the coronavirus, but it's an epidemic right now where young boys don't have the sort of guidance, and that's why you see all these teenagers and stuff like that, and young people getting lost. So yeah, mentors. Eventually I realized that I needed to find mentors. I'm like, how the hell do I find mentors? I eventually found a mentor, my first mentor, when I was 17 years old. I'd gone to a conference and I found him, and after the conference I walked up to him and told him, I loved his speech, I loved his talk, his presentation, wondering whether we can connect. And to my surprise, he agreed. Over the years, I also found, one or two other mentors who I've learned so much from. And these are like really, really successful people, hugely successful businessmen whom I really admire, basically. From about 2016 to about 2019, that's what I was sort of doing. I was just learning from my mentors, following them around, shadowing them, and doing all this cool stuff. And that's where I really got my education on life, on what it's like to be a man, and what it's like to pursue your goals, and how do you achieve success and impact. That was sort of my springboard.
Yeah, I've seen a few ads that you've put out on Instagram as well, with like the richest man in Singapore spits some truth, and then he talks about all of his beliefs basically. But regarding the mentors, is that what sort of led you to start up your own business based around this revelation that you've had?
Yeah, so it's basically started off like my student years. The way I see it is there's this cycle that we always go through. First, you're a student, and then second, you're doing it, you're in the trenches, and then the third is you're the master. So it's this cycle that people are always going through, sort of like a trend in which you do it throughout your life. For the first 20 years, you're a student, and then for the next 20 or 30 years, you're doing it, you're in the trenches, you're out there working on your career, and then in your last 20 years of your life, you're sort of passing it on, you're the master. Now I'm in the doing it phase. You got to do it yourself as well. I remember I was sitting in Melbourne, we were at a sushi restaurant. My mentor had come to see me. He flew in from Singapore, and he told me the end goal is for you to get this old man's brain into your young man's head. And that really struck me, because that's what mentorship is all about, and guidance, and learning from masters, and learning from great people. It's about shortcutting what they've gone through and implementing it while you still can, so you don't have to make the mistakes that they made. I realized that, hey, eventually, this is what I have to do, and eventually I have to go out there and do things myself. And having the faith of successful men, and like an older man, really gives you immense courage and immense confidence. It really does. When they believe in you, when they spend time with you. Specifically with what we're doing with the University of Greatness, is I realized that there's a lot of things that people should have learned in school, but they didn't learn for whatever reason. So I sort of decided, hey, look, I'm in university right now. With my sort of education phase with my mentors, I learned so many things that this formal institution could not teach me. My mission right now is bring this knowledge, make it as accessible to as much people as possible. Currently, we have about 500 students. We're going to be growing it more. It's basically like a community of people coming together who realize the importance of these things. Real information acquired by real people, real experiences, real successful people to learn from, and also my own experience. And then you go out there and make your own mark in the world.
So ultimately, what's the goal with your business? Like, do you plan on expanding it more? Like, what do you intend
I
to do?
see a lot of 22-year-old boys. They all come to me with similar problems. I realize I see things the way they are.
Yeah, I see. And it's good that you're very confident that you actually have a plan moving forward to grow into your business, like you said. But at the same time, have you ever dealt with any trolls, like haters, people who have criticized your University of Greatness just based on the stuff that you've been doing?
The way I see it is, if you're doing something different, the drums of criticism will always be beating for you. I was getting attention from people, from girls specifically, in my school. But then, people weren't happy because this young punk is getting all the girls. That's sort of like a weird analogy that I make, but it's really true if you look down at the fundamentals, which is that people who are outstanding in any way or do things differently, you don't get one without the other. If you're not getting criticized or haters or people trying to bring you down, you're not doing anything big. It used to affect me when it first started out, when I first started posting and advertising on social media. I would see these and it would discourage me. I would read these things and I'd be like, wow, like, I'm just trying to give the world what I think the world needs. Why is this sort of stuff happening? And then eventually I realized, and I matured, and I realized that it wasn't about me. It was really about other people's insecurities about themselves. And
They're kind of channeling their inner insecurity towards you to make themselves feel better.
yeah, because it means that you're not doing well if someone else is also doing really well. That's just the way we are as humans, but we have to fight against that, right? So now that when we see people who are similar to us doing well, we should wish them well, wish them more success. Why would you make up your mind before you even hear what they have to say based on like your preconceptions? So I think it's retarded.
Definitely see that. But what would you give as advice for someone who's looking to create their own social media entrepreneurship, or even just get mentors, or just grow as a person in general? Like, what kind of solid advice could you give to these people?
I would probably say that if you don't know where you're going, if you have really no clue at all, go out there and find mentors who you admire, who you want to be like. Go find them, reach out to them no matter what. Get in contact with them somehow. I have this friend in Melbourne. He would go knocking on doors in a rich suburb in Melbourne, and it got so bad that one of the guys told him to get lost or they'd call the cops on him. But it's funny because eventually he got a meeting, like they had coffee, right? So persistence, right? So go find people, advise young people, go find people who you admire, talk to them, ask them for 15 minutes for coffee, build that connection and hopefully build that relationship with them. That will give you the courage, the confidence and the guidance to get started. Have conviction and confidence in your own ability. I'm also learning to test out my waters, test out the waters around me. That's the second stage. And then eventually passing it on, you'll be mentoring other people and you'll be guiding them. But that's like the 3-step process. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks so much for the interview, man. Just before I go, is there any social media or any websites that you would definitely want to plug in this video?
My Instagram is at Matthew_Yao. My website is MatthewYao.com. You can find the University of Greatness at greatnessuni.com.
Thanks so much, Matthew.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Instagram. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!